Look, some games you just want to play over and over again. There's value in it, it's fun ticking off the stuff on the to-do list, and sometimes you want to get better at the game or break the game or speedrun it. Truthfully, there are a lot of reasons why you might want to play a game over and over again. And today we're talking about games that you could potentially do that with. Hi folks, it's Mac, and today we've got 15 games that we just want to keep playing forever and ever. Starting off at number 15, it's Brotato. You can't watch this game and tell me it doesn't look like pure fun. It doesn't have a story mode or anything, you just pick a character, pick some starting weapons, and go on a killing spree. It's completely mindless, but it's also extremely entertaining. The music also frickin' rules. Enemy formations that spawn in each round are randomly generated, so you never know what you're gonna be facing. Certain game modes mix things up by introducing objectives, but mostly it's just a game where you run around and shoot stuff. This is about as good as this kind of game gets. It's not overly complex, but it is satisfying. And I mean, look at it. I don't think we really need to explain why a game like this has just never-ending, endless replayability. It's Brotato. It's fun, it has a steady drip of unlockable stuff to keep the player incentivized to keep going too, which is always good. And you know, it's also just kinda silly. Like, you play as a little potato dude, you get all kinds of ridiculous weapons. It's just pure mindless video game fun. At number 14 is Dome Keeper. Survival may be a theme of a lot of these games. Case in point, Dome Keeper, where you build your dome as best as you can and hope you survive the onslaught of alien attackers at night. The gist here is that all-important survival resource management, mining for some serious resources to upgrade your dome, but also the exploration and waiting for the surprises that the surfaces may have in store for you. The game comes equipped with alternative game modes to experiment with and challenge yourself, but it's the roguelike elements that are key here. It's procedural generation, your playable character base, you can change things like pets, some rewards for overcoming certain in-game objectives that get met, like bonuses of sorts, so you can hold your own against the spider giant things trying to break in. This all makes Dome Keeper an impressively robust entry into the perennial game struggle of man versus alien. Well, man versus alien to advanced technology. It requires a lot of strategy, planning, resource management, and because the maps are randomly generated, it just keeps on going with a steady climb and challenge and difficulty too. So you're gonna spend a lot of time protecting your dome. Coming in next, we've got Against the Storm. This premise of this game is that you're a viceroy in a dark fantasy world where the rain just never stops and civilization is in decline. As the leader of a group of villagers, your aim is to brave the world and form new settlements throughout the world. So it's kind of like a reverse dungeon crawler in a lot of ways. But it's also a full city builder where you have to construct all the services and facilities your childish villagers need to survive in the harsh world. So along with gathering resources, make sure everybody is happy, and helping your settlements prosper, you also have to fend off the blight that is threatening your village. So the risk of failure is ever present, and you have to go on risking your villagers for a chance to prosper. And what makes this game especially addictive and replay heavy despite the pretty hardcore setup is that it's actually really accessible. It's to the point, it flows really well, it's actually fairly user-friendly, not too intimidating. In some ways, it's a simple game, and the more complexity rogue elements come in with that impeccable randomized settlement situations where you have to cater to the needs of different residents, deal with different terrain, all that stuff. It's a good old just one more constant challenge with good balance, good progression. At number 12 is Dredge, which is an incredible achievement in making fishing into a robust and maybe even kind of terrifying adventure in an archipelago. There's a supernatural threat beneath the waters that reminds us that fishing isn't just alternate means to gain currency in games, it's a whole adventure in itself. Dredge is beautifully immersive and interactive 3D top-down graphics. The perennial simple storyline that you just need to mind your business and fish, acquire, upgrade your ship with better equipment, increase your cargo capacity, try and make more money fishing, think you'll just dedicate yourself to fishing, end up blundering your way into the area's mysteries, the search for missing people, and get involved with mysterious scientists quite literally out of your depth, and so on and so forth. Essentially, this game kind of gives you everything, and while it's pretty long, there is quite a bit to do. There's also a number of ways to play. You can just play through the game, you can explore all the areas to their full extent, even if it's kind of terrifying, and then go back and help support your peers. It just lends itself to a lot of creative ways that you can play it. Coming in next at number 11 is Cult of the Lamb, an instant cult classic, no pun intended, hit with just the replay value to encourage you to keep coming back. What's interesting about this game is one of the reasons it's so successful at it. It's actually blending a lot of different types of things that are fun to play forever. Things like an Animal Crossing type game with a Stardew Valley-y atmosphere with that endless combat loop. It may sound like too weird of a blend to work, but when you add on some fantastic 3D, 2.5D, whatever, it's just got a modern polish to it. It's also just a very good dark fantasy rogue game. It makes for endless replay. You play as a lamb in a dark fantasy world who is saved from death, and to repay the favor, you recruit followers, befriend cute little animals into joining your cult, gain materials to build as you crusade through dungeons, taking out enemies old school style as you go up against rival cult leaders. It sounds nuts, I know I'm kind of buzzing through it, but it's just really fun. Between the dungeon running and the building of the cults, you're split between kind of like blowing it out and killing everything to building something. It's a simple game, it just works very well, or else it would be too much of a mess to enjoy. But all the cute little guys do fulfill their purpose to make this a game that kind of works all the way around. At number 10 is Tunic. This one's less about a play forever vibe and more of a play again vibe, especially when you start to slowly uncover more about what the island's all about. Taking on a few drops of Zelda's blood, a little bit of Dark Souls' vibe, old school Legend of Zelda's survival spirit, and some Metroid flavor, Tunic is, in all other ways, a unique experience in and of its own. You play as a little fox on a deserted island with a gritty mission to explore for hidden weapons, solve puzzles, beat up monsters and bosses, but also uncover what's going on this island in general. You'll uncover some interesting, clever links between the story world, like a procedurally generated language that you can use to unlock puzzles and clues and access other dimensions. It's a game where it's fun to find secrets, it's fun to progress, it's fun to get lost, it's just really fun exploration. You can beat it, yes, there is an end, but there's a lot of different ways to do things here. There's a lot of different creative methods to the madness. And next on the list at number 9 is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, the Borderlands spin-off you didn't know you needed. They managed to make a game that's even more Borderlands than Borderlands with this. Wonderlands has the tongue-in-cheek storytelling, the enchanting playthrough class progression, a lot of talent point gameplay. It's got the plot where players set out to defeat the Dragon Lord. It's got the refreshing environments to explore, but also the replay value comes in the looting and shooting because it's all Borderlands flavor. Another flavor of it, just looting and shooting to nothingness. It's pretty mindlessly fun, although that doesn't mean you can't go into it with a deeply strategic mindset. And part of the fun here is the chaos. The game can really go off the rails, specifically with all of Tiny Tina's shenanigans. She's not exactly a stable woman and could definitely inject chaos into this world's regular order. It keeps the gameplay fresh, it's just a really fun game. Let's just say that. Now at number 8, it's Marvel's Midnight Suns. This has the pleasure of being both a Marvel game and a Firaxis game. There is just no scenario where that fails. If you like Firaxis XComs and you want to play as Marvel superheroes, here's a tactical survival RPG and an altogether everything game for you. The gameplay includes recruiting miles of heroes like Iron Man and Wolverine, as well as acquiring new abilities, suit upgrades, stuff like that, and the base building component. And that gameplay loop gives you a lot to chew on in one of the most well-executed superhero games in a long time. Your role is to play an ancient hero known as the Hunter and lead the battle to save the world from the rising threat of your mom, Lilith, the mother of demons. It sounds mad, and well, yes, it is. Let's just say you won't be going easy on your mom in this one, because she's hell-bent on causing destruction. Fortunately, Earth's mightiest are on hand. And there's a fantastic and fun story going on along with strategic gameplay. Look, the replay value comes in all those systems I was really talking about, and truthfully, it's just a lot of fun to try different types of teams out for all of the various tactical combat scenarios thrown at you. Lots of different characters and abilities really make for a really varied game at the very least. At number 7, we have Chained Echoes, a tactical RPG that marries some of the best elements of 80s and 90s adventure games and pairs them with some pretty slick modern 3D graphics. With an epic story set in the war-ravaged kingdom of Volandis, the story first follows multiple characters, yet eventually it has you switching between playable characters up until their stories collide, and then you have a lot of different options, like who is here, who is in your party, who is not. But you're basically given free reign of an open world, world. A really cool open world, by the way. You kind of lose yourself exploring this massive map with distinct regions that offer all sorts of different challenges. It is in-depth strategically. There's definitely a lot of choices to make, a lot of combat depth, and if you really want to get the most out of the game, you really got to think about your party composition. It lends itself to replaying it a couple of different ways, so you can kind of cover your bases by including everybody. And there's a lot to decipher here. Let's just leave it at that. Now at number 6, we have Lies of P. This game gives you a reason to pick up and play once, twice, maybe 3 times, but a lot of times actually. You play as a mechanical Pinocchio who wakes up in the city of Krat. It's strewn with all sorts of enemies and mayhem. This Souls-like game with Dark Souls at its heart written all over it basically. It's a brutal and unforgiving journey, so it's dark as hell even while it's drawing its premise from an Italian epic. And it's gorgeous in 3D for the beautiful violence of exploring the city's streets and uncovering the secrets of P and what's going on in this crazy city. The reason to play Lies of P more than once is the inertia of the game. It is just so damn cool, but also it's the opportunity to try out multiple combat builds to what works against which enemies in certain areas. And also the decisions you make, specifically how your choices at various points may determine what happens to you at the end. There really is a steady drip, even just like a feeling of accomplishment as you push through. Lies of P is just a special game with a lot of replay value in my opinion. And at number 5 is Balatro, the kind of game you can play for either 10 hours or 100 hours because you can win it fairly quickly if you know what you're doing, but also it's so wildly addictive that there's really no easy stopping point. It's a degraded poker rogue game that has that standard hook of progressing through the ranks of playing an ace-high hands, using a table personalization, special cosmetic upgrades that gives you certain kinds of abilities, and certain abilities to manipulate the game systems in ways that are interesting, using those to your advantage. Scoring in this game is equivalent to bragging rights, and the uppercut that gives the initiative to play just one more round of a game is that of a procedurally generated game in Where You Smash. And when everything goes right, it's going right. But then also, when it's such a high risk that you can lose a lot in that state, you're at a point where the win is in the bag and you've completely snowballed. But also, that's how this game kind of works, you know? It's got so many ways to win, and things can go really right, but you are just a couple of bad poker hands away from total disaster. Next up, we have Risk of Rain Returns. We've got a lot of games on this list where survival is the #1 priority, but the Risk of Rain games are some of the best, one of the most fun survival second lives ever. The first game is kind of bite-sized or fast, a looter game where you explore an alien planet, unlock new characters, and take on the enemies raining down from above. What gives this one is what the Returns game does with basically a bunch of quality of life upgrades. It has new content, it has some visual overhauls. Frankly, I kind of prefer the look of the new ones more than the old one, the original. But it stays very faithful to the gameplay other than giving it that certain next level feel that just makes it easier to keep playing it over and over. You've got 15 characters to play as, loads of unlockable abilities, hundreds of items to collect, and shift and morph and snowball the gameplay in the way it just basically changes your approach to the whole game. The game's about you're just essentially playing 3 levels and fighting a big boss at the end. But because there's stuff to explore, fantastically addictive combat to engage with, and so many different ways the gameplay can actually play out that it just keeps you going, this is one of those time-devouring games. You're gonna look at the clock and go, how did that happen? How did I play for 4 hours? But at number 3 is the Rogue Prince of Persia. We've had time travel, we've had sands, but what if Prince of Persia went rogue, a roguelike game? The answer to that question is this game. As the prince forced into exile when the king and queen were done in by some Hun attacks, you've got to battle your way back to the kingdom through the world's most intensely wild parkour. And that's how you perennially find yourself keeping coming back for more with this game. Because it's the procedurally generated levels that make it all very fun. And plus, how long can you keep your parkour streak going? That's also really fun. In terms of game length, Rogue Prince isn't exactly a long game, but because there's so much relentless thrill in trying to nab the kingdom back from the Huns, the combat's insanely fluid and the levels are just really well orchestrated and well designed. And they change up every single time you restart, which if you're like most of us, that'll be a lot. There's a lot here. Whether you just want to bash through enemies or really nail a specific goal, there's kind of lots of different ways to play. Lots of different special effects, lots of different abilities and weapons. There's a lot to sink your teeth into here. Now down at number 2, of course, the crazy dungeon crawler action RPG, ARPG, whatever you want to call it, the Snowball game. Path of Exile absolutely needs to make this list. This is one of those situations where I know there may be other games that kind of do what this game does or exemplify this specific game type, but Path of Exile does it really damn well. This game's loops are just crazy, and you can keep this going quite literally forever. A lot of these other games, you can clock 100 hours and eventually you're gonna have the whole game scratched and clawed through and chewed up. All the progress possible will be made. Path of Exile is one of those games where that's not possible. The replay value here is in its massive size as a game. This thing is giant, and I'm not talking about the literal map, I mean that too, but I'm talking about the game's mechanics and all the content. So much frickin' content goes into Path of Exile, so much to unlock, so much to experiment with, it's madness. Of course, the game has been around for a while. This came out in 2013, and it's a free-to-play game. So this is just one of those free-to-play games that really prove themselves as these viable, big games that everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to join in, play it over and over a few more times, clock in hundreds of hours. Anybody's got a shot at it, and it's really fun. And finally, at number 1, it's the other Snowball dungeon crawler game type. It's Last Epoch. With all of the kind of size, scope, and depth of Path of Exile, but probably a little bit more new player friendly, how many times can you cheat your own death is more the question about Last Epoch, because you can do it in a lot of different ways. You can really do it by time traveling and rogue fighting your way through the world, yet doing it through multiple branches of possible timelines, kind of like the seasons in Path of Exile. I know I kind of mentioned that Last Epoch has a little bit more of a friendly factor to it, but that doesn't mean it isn't relentlessly mysterious in scope. To want to get to know all of those gameplay loops, to want to know what you're going on about, and to establish the right kind of mystery with that inexorable drive and investigate what becomes of the world of Eterra is enough of a good reason to just keep on keeping on playing, fighting those ancient gods, and discovering stuff in a heroic journey that spans time. What gives it a lot of replayability is, of course, the many ways you can time travel, the different directions you can branch out. It really is a good back and forth ping pong game with Path of Exile. Some of you will do just one or the other, but if you want to talk about playing a gritty, dark fantasy over and over again, these are the two to do it with. And that's just some of the best games that we want to play forever and ever and ever. But there are a lot of games out there. What's the game that you know is most likely to kill you via death by video games because it's just too good to stop playing? Leave us a comment, let us know.